All right, welcome to Talking Investing. I'm Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to talk about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners weekend update. We want to see what is going on with Bitcoin and what is going on with the Bitcoin miners. If you are new here, we talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners all the time on this channel. So if you enjoy that content, if that's what you're interested in, please consider subscribing to the channel. I want to thank everybody again. We just recently reached 20,000 subscribers. So it's been 3+ years and over 1,000 videos. So thank you very much, everybody, for taking the journey with us, and we've got a long way to go. Lastly, if you can do us a favor, we're going to go for 800 likes on this video. You guys have been doing an unbelievable job of smashing the like button, and it's making a big difference for the channel, so I really appreciate it. So thanks again to everybody. Let's talk about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. Before we get to all of our normal charts, which we will get to, I want to show you what the Bitcoin miners did on Friday. Okay, this is the Bitcoin miner big board on Friday. As you will see, every single Bitcoin miner was green. There were a few of them that underperformed a little bit. Iris Energy wasn't even up 1%, but it was green. Bitfarms underperformed a little bit, up 2.66%, but also green. But you'll also see some very big movers. Bitdeer was up almost 24%. Core Scientific up over 12%. CleanSpark up over 10%. Marathon and Riot were both up over 6%. So I wanted to show you this because a lot of the charts that we're going to go through are still not looking good for the Bitcoin miners. But we did have this big green day on Friday, and it was not necessarily a great day for Bitcoin. This has broken a long trend where Bitcoin seems to be moving up and the Bitcoin miners have been lagging. You're going to see that on all the rest of the charts. But I wanted to start out with this because obviously one day does not a trend make. However, it was encouraging to see this on Friday. So we will see. This is a new week. We'll have to see what comes this week, but let's take a look back at what happened last week. Okay, as always, the first chart is the week over week. So this is as of the close of last Friday. Bitcoin was down about 0.5%, so very flat on the week. But 17 of the 19 Bitcoin miners that we follow were in the red. Only 2 Bitcoin miners were green. Bitdeer was up 9%, and if you remember, they were up 24% just on Friday, so they also would have been deeply in the red this week, if not for that fantastic day on Friday. But even with that big green day, that was only enough to drag Bitdeer and Cypher into the green. Cypher up just 1%. All the rest of the Bitcoin miners in the red on the week. So another very difficult week for the Bitcoin miners. This has been a trend. We're going to take a look at a chart in a few minutes. We're basically 12 weeks into this trend, not quite 12 weeks. And you'll see the vast majority of these Bitcoin miners were down between 10 and 20% in a week where Bitcoin was flat. Any was down 24%. That was the worst performer. Some of the large market caps, Marathon, which is by far the largest market cap, down 18% this week. CleanSpark and Riot are very near each other in market cap in second and third place. And you'll see CleanSpark was down 14% this week. Riot was down 6% this week. So all of the top 3 in the red. And again, almost everything was in the red. A tough week. So I'll let you guys take a second and look for your Bitcoin miner if you're invested in any of these. But another week where all the Bitcoin miners struggled. So if we zoom out just a little bit and go year to date, we're now 2.5 months into this year as of Friday. You're going to see Bitcoin is up 64%. So Bitcoin did not close at its all-time high on Friday, but has taken out its previous all-time high. So up 64% on the year. There is only one Bitcoin miner that's even in the green in the year 2024, and that is CleanSpark, up 58% year to date. All the other Bitcoin miners are down between 15 and 56% year to date. So Cypher down 15%, Marathon down 18%. Again, to hit a couple of the large market caps, you're going to see Riot down 25% year to date. There are a bunch of these at the bottom that I do think the market appears to be very worried about, and they tend to be some of the smaller cap, micro cap, nano cap stocks. Any, which is Sphere 3D, is down 56% year to date. Mawson also down 56% year to date. Argo Blockchain down 56% year to date. So those 3 in particular, but GREE is down 48% year to date. Stock ticker BTBT down 48% year to date. I will note that BTBT, in my opinion, has a very strong balance sheet. So I'm not sure where their business is going, but they do seem to have a good balance sheet. They have some streams of revenue. So not financial advice, and I'm not even invested in BTBT, but I just mentioned that this is why I look at these charts. I'm looking for potential opportunities, potential future investments, or at least stocks to put on my watch list. So for me, I'll be adding BTBT to my watch list. I'll take a closer look at that one. I think that stands out among all these stocks that are down anywhere from 40 to 60%. And even some of these down in the 20s and 30s. There may be opportunities in here. So obviously not financial advice. I can't tell you which ones they are, but I continue to look at these charts every single week for opportunities. If we zoom out just a little bit more, all the Bitcoin miners hit a local high, actually their high for the year, on or around December 27th, 2023. So from that day, it's now 11 and a half weeks. So coming up on 12 weeks. And you're gonna see, other than CleanSpark, which is up 30%, all the rest of the Bitcoin miners are in the red from that date. So they are all down in the same period of time where Bitcoin is up 59%. So this is a massive divergence between the performance of Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. Other than CleanSpark up 30%, the best performing miner is Cypher, down 33%. Riot and Marathon are right here next to each other, down 38% in this 11 and a half week period. And again, Bitcoin up 59% in this same period of time. And then this becomes even more clear. You're gonna see a bunch of these Bitcoin miners down between 46 and 67%. So I have been saying for the last 15 months, I don't think this cycle is going to be like the last cycle. I don't think every single Bitcoin miner is going to run to the moon in this bull market. I think there will be winners and losers. So I continue to repeat that because I think it's important. Obviously, just my opinion. I do think it's a lot more important to understand the Bitcoin miner that you're invested in if you're investing in any of these, because they are not all the same. So I try to keep in mind, none of these are a sure thing. There's no sure bet. So it's ultra important to do your own due diligence, to have conviction in your stock, and to have a plan, an entrance strategy, an exit strategy, and to always bear in mind, Bitcoin is a highly volatile asset, and the Bitcoin miners have an even higher level of volatility. Okay, another chart I'm following, and we'll go through this one real quickly. This chart is from July 14th, 2023. All the Bitcoin miners hit a high for the year in the middle of the year last year. Many of them took out that high in December of 2023, which we just looked at, but a lot of these Bitcoin miners are still not back to where they were last July. So that is now 245 days ago. There are only 4 Bitcoin miners in the green from July 14th of 2023, again, 245 days ago, over 9 months ago. So you'll see CleanSpark is in runaway first place since that day, up 153%. Bitcoin is up 129%. We know that Bitcoin has been running. Bitfarms up 15%, Marathon up 7%, and then a microcap / nanocap stock, DMG Blockchain, up 2%. All the rest of the Bitcoin miners are in the red for this period of time. Just more evidence to me that the market is worried about a lot of these Bitcoin miners. So we're going to have to wait and see how this plays out. Remember, we are not yet even to the halving. Okay, so this one I like to look at, and I know some people do not care for this chart, but I think this is very important because I think the Bitcoin miners that are successful, the ones that I have a high level of conviction in, my personal price target is that they end up exceeding their previous highs from the last bull market back in November of 2021. So this is a comparison of the Bitcoin miners versus their highs from November of 2021, not necessarily their all-time high. Now, I know a lot of you will say, well, a lot of these companies, their business models have changed. A lot of these companies have done a lot of stock dilution. All of that's true, but if you invest in a company and it's a good investment, even if they dilute shares, it should be accretive to the company and the stock price should go up. So as an investor, you should not expect that efficient stock dilution is going to lower the price of your stock over long periods of time. So again, I do expect by the peak of this cycle for the Bitcoin miners that I have high conviction in to surpass their previous all-time high. But you'll see at the moment, none of them are even in that neighborhood. And it's worth noting, you'll see, of course, Bitcoin is back to its previous all-time high. So you'll see it has changed essentially 0% from November of 2021. Now, obviously, it was a long ride down and back up through a crypto winter and through multiple years, but we are back to where we were for Bitcoin. The only miner that's even in the neighborhood of back to its previous all-time high is CleanSpark, down 26%. Then it drops off to Cypher, down 65%. And from there, from 73% down to 99%. So this is another one of these charts where there are 8 Bitcoin miners down between 89 and 99%. So you have to believe that the market market is pricing in a chance of failure for those companies. And I'm not saying that they're going to fail. Obviously, that is for you to decide. But one of the questions would be, do you see one of the Bitcoin miners in there that maybe you have some high level of conviction in? If they're down basically 90 to 99%, there could be some opportunity there. So again, I do this as many ways as I can. You know, everybody finds value in different charts. So we look at this every week on a weekly basis. We look at all these companies on a monthly basis, and we try to look at this as many ways as possible to see where or if there are any opportunities. Okay, new thing we're doing this year, we're taking a look at Bitcoin versus the 4 major US indexes, the 2 largest commodities, which obviously are gold and silver, and the 2 largest cryptocurrencies, which are Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I'm doing this on a weekly basis, but more importantly, year to date. So for the week, let's take a look. Only silver was up this week. This was a down week across the board last week. The Dow was down just a little bit, almost even. The S&P 500 down just a little bit. Bitcoin down 0.5%. The NASDAQ was down 0.7%. At the bottom of this list, you'll see the Russell was down 2%. The Russell continues to struggle. The Russell still is down over the last 3 years. So I do think there's opportunity here as well, but it continues to struggle and dramatically lag the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, both of which have recently hit new all-time highs. And then Ethereum had a tough week, down 6.6%, but Ethereum has been on a massive run as well. So when we get to the year to the date, you'll see Ethereum's doing quite well so far this year. So let's go to that right now. Okay, so here is year to date. Bitcoin jumped back into first place, up 64.2% year to date. Ethereum is up 60.5% year to date. So these two, obviously, the cryptocurrencies are outperforming everything, even with the S&P and the NASDAQ hitting all-time highs. When cryptocurrencies run, nothing really can compete with them. So you'll see the S&P is having a great year, up 7.28%. The NASDAQ's having a great year, up 6.41%, even though they were both a little bit in the red this last week. Silver's up, gold is up, the Dow is up. Even the Russell 2000 year to date, even with a down week, is still up 0.6%. So green across the board, but obviously at varying levels. So another very tough week for the Bitcoin miners, pretty much a sideways week for Bitcoin. So that's what's going on with Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. Thanks everybody so much for watching. Remember, if you made it this far, remember to smash the like button. And of course, if you're interested in this content, Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next video.